Very good afternoon to all of you. Dr. Diwari sir, should we start the program now?
Yes, Dr. Pandu, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very good afternoon to all the participants. This is the webinar on children's mental health and disorders being organized by Child-Centric Disaster Risk Reduction Center and National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, in association with Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management, Government of Gujarat. So it's my pleasure to welcome all the dignitaries and the participants. I welcome Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal sir, Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, and the patron of this webinar, Sri P.K. Daneja, Director General, Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management. Welcome you, sir. And I also welcome Professor Santosh Kumar, sir, Head Child-Centric Disaster Risk Reduction Center and Governance Inclusive DRR Center. And he is the chair of this program, but unfortunately is unable to join this program. And I also welcome the conveners of this program, Dr. Kumar Raka, Program Officer, CCDRA Center, NIDM, and Dr. Abhiyan Tiwari, Assistant Professor and Program Manager, Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management. A warm welcome to the conveners. I also welcome the speakers, the eminent speakers of this today's program, Dr. S. Joyce Jairani, Assistant Professor, MS Chellamuthu Institute of Mental Health and Rehabilitation. A warm welcome to Dr. S.P. Salaman, who is a counseling psychologist. I also welcome all the participants who has joined across the various, joined from various states. So with this warm welcome, I would like to share a few words about this webinar. We all know that now the frequency and intensity of disasters are being increased because of changing climate. And after a disaster, the children may experience anxiety, fear, sadness, sleep disruption, distressing dreams, irritability, difficulty in concentration, and anger. And experiencing a disaster can also cause stress for families and children under 18 years of age. And especially they are risk, particularly is for the mental health issues. Some children may develop disorders like anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder after a disasters. Stress and emotional problems also affect children's physical health and quality of life and how they do at home, in school, and in their communities. It is very important to keep the children mentally and physically safe both during and after the disaster. And the parents who are also able to recognize the signs of children stress can best help their children to cope and remain healthy. So this webinar is organized to learn about the mental health issues of children who are affected by the disaster. And the objective of this program is to understand and provide an overview of most common problems and worries of children who are affected by disasters, and also to understand the impact of disasters on mental health of children. And the speakers also going to share some of the suggestions for improving the mental health of the children. So with this brief background of this webinar, now I'm handing over to Dr. Abhiyan Tiwari to introduce and invite the DG GIDM to deliver address. Over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balu. And I once again, on behalf of the Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management, welcome our distinguished patrons, Sri P.K. Taneja sir, Major General Bindal sir. I also welcome the distinguished speakers and all our participants. Let me take this opportunity to quickly introduce you about the Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management. We are delighted to partner with the National Institute of Disaster Management on this very useful and well-in-time webinar on children's mental health and disaster management, mental health and disasters. The Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management is interested with the responsibility of human resource development, capacity building, training, research, and documentation in the field of disaster risk management. It is the apex institute of the state government in terms of capacity building in disaster risk management as a motto of building resilience. The institute is one of its kind standalone institute at the state level, established under the provisions of Government Act, the Gujarat State Disaster Management Act of 2003. As an aspiring center of excellence in the field of disaster risk management, governed by the Governing Council, which is headed by the Honorable Chief Minister of the state, and Executive Council headed by the Director General of the Institute, GIDM has adopted a systemic strategy of capacity building for the state of Gujarat, which has a population of more than 60 million. In addition to the training and capacity building, GIDM's core activities can be categorized into 5 more pillars, which are applied research, documentation, consultancy, partnership, and academic programming. GIDM's Green Campus, spanning over more than 14 acres of land and an excellent state-of-art infrastructure, makes it possible to house the SARC Disaster Management Center's interim Unit 2. Thus, in a manner of speaking, GIDM is not only serves the Gujarat state and the nation, but also the South Asia region in a way. With the advent of Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, there has been a paradigm shift from managing disasters to disaster risk management, along with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, steering our world towards sustainable development as an overarching agreement among all the nations. IDM, through its capacity building programs, is fostering the concerted ideology of risk informed planning and disaster resilient sustainable development. Let me also take this opportunity to introduce our Honorable Director General, Sri P.K. Taneja sir. Sri P.K. Taneja sir joined the Indian Administrative Services in 1984. In his career spanning over more than 35 years, he served at various senior positions with Government of India and Government of Gujarat. Besides being the Director General of Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management, Sri Taneja sir is also the Director of SARC Disaster Management Center's interim unit and the President of Gujarat GSFC University. Prior to his work at GIDM and SARC Disaster Management Center interim unit, he worked with Government of Gujarat at various senior positions as the Additional Chief Secretary of Industries and Mines Department, Additional Chief Secretary of Home Department. He worked as Additional Chief Secretary of Forest and Environment Department and also as the Commissioner and Principal Secretary of Health and Family Welfare Department. He has been the managing director and chairman of several Government of Gujarat companies. His creative administrative skills were instrumental in turning around some of the loss-making Government of Gujarat companies into substantial profit-making companies. Having rich experience of working in the major frontline departments of Government of Gujarat and Government of India, he has acquired deep understanding of resources, capacities, and standard operating procedures of various line departments. As a collector, district magistrate, and district development officer, Sri P.K. Taneja sir has played an instrumental role in implementing disaster risk reduction programs. He is one of the few persons in the state and in the nation who is fiercely fostering the promotion of realization and implementation of internet agendas like SFDRR and SDGs, and establishing a coherence among such policies and frameworks at the local level. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us today. And now I would like Shri P.K. Taneja sir to kindly enlighten us with his keynote address for today's webinar. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abhyant. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Colleagues from NIDM Major General Bindal ji, Professor Santosh ji, conveners of the webinar, coordinator Dr. Balu, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining in for this webinar on children's mental health and disasters, jointly organized by NIDM and GIDM. I am indeed grateful to NIDM for organizing this webinar on this important subject and giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. I just would like to mention that once I was also the Commissioner of Health and Principal Secretary Public Health and Family Welfare and also Principal Secretary of the Social Justice in Government of Gujarat, where I dealt with this subject a little bit. We all are very well aware that children are one of the most vulnerable groups of a community during disasters. In addition, disasters disrupt education and can cause psychological trauma. Disasters also separate children from their families and increase vulnerability to trafficking, exploitation, and other kind of abuses. Children are emotionally vulnerable to their experiences during a disaster. However, a child's reaction to a disaster varies widely depending on circumstances such as the extent of exposure to the event, the amount of support during the disaster and its aftermath, and 3, the amount of personal loss and social disruption. Further, the child's response and adaptations are also influenced by the child's development stage, degree of dependency on adults, unique individual characteristics, and the child's previous experiences. This makes children more sensitive and vulnerable to disasters, and they may experience a range of mental and psychological disorders such as fear, anxiety, sadness, irritability, and so on. It was briefly mentioned by Dr. Balu also in his welcome address. Sadly, these effects of adverse events on their mental health may last longer as compared to adults, and can also affect the mental growth in their cognitive development stage. According to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, children have the right to be first to receive attention during emergencies. Under the CRC, which is Rights of the Children, Convention on the Rights of the Children, children have inalienable rights in all circumstances, including disasters, and have the right to participate in decisions that ultimately affect them. Moreover, children have particular needs that must be met for their healthy growth and development. The Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals clearly acknowledge children as a vulnerable group, with children's rights and capacities as active agents explicitly highlighted in many of such agreements. The creation of safe environments for children has been emphasized right from Constitution of India to School Safety Policy 2016 by NDMA, National Policy on Children 2013, Right to Education Act 2009, NDMA 2005, National Disaster Management Act 2005, and many other such legal provisions in India. I recall the 2001 Gujarat earthquake. Out of total 13,805 lives lost, 35% of them, that is approximately about 5,000, to be precise, 4,878 were children. In one taluka itself, about 300 children were marching along a street as a part of Republic Day procession. They met with a tragic end when buildings collapsed from both sides of the narrow lane. Even in the current times of the COVID-19 pandemic, children are among one of the most vulnerable groups that are facing a lot of mental suffering apart from the physical suffering. There are significant hindrances in the education, health, and nutritional services that they were receiving earlier at schools. Most importantly, they are the ones who are strictly confined to their homes, which ultimately is leading to missing their entire social life with their age group friends. These ill effects of these shocks may last long across their lifespan, and that is what is a matter of serious worry. What is difficult is to extricate the actual number of people getting mentally and psychologically affected by disasters, and this is because of the relatively less importance being given to the field of mental and psychological well-being in pre, during, and post disasters. So we need to concentrate on this field a little more. But as I mentioned earlier, that mental health has not received its due prominence in health policies and practices across the globe, and in that too, children's mental health has been a further neglected area of health, unfortunately. While we have made remarkable improvements in reducing the child mortality rates and improving their nutritional status, the growth of children of India will not be holistic unless we don't ensure their mental well-being as well. And disasters, especially the ones like COVID-19 pandemic, can pull back all our achievements and developments that we have made in this field so far. And therefore, it is a must that we ensure the mental well-being of our children in pre, during, and post disasters. However, we have many examples of good practices of multiple organizations, institutions, and communities coming together, which is like whole of the society concept, and responding to the mental and psychological care needs of victims. Specially designed psychological support programs in school settings were developed together in Gujarat, in the case of Gujarat after earthquake, by GCRT, NIMHANS, GHMA, UNICEF, and GOG, Government of Gujarat, and they were implemented in nearly 800 schools with more than 1,500 teachers trained for psychological interventions. And 90% of those teachers later reported that the training had been extremely helpful. Similarly, there are several other examples where community-based volunteers were especially trained in psychological counseling skills, who in turn delivered psychological counseling and care to thousands of children and adults during the Gujarat earthquake. It is evident that children have the ability to make the decisions that matter for their everyday well-being, including in the face of hazards and disasters, if they are made aware. Children's diverse vulnerabilities and abilities can only be understood by including children in DRR efforts, as no one understands their experiences and needs better than children themselves. So children should be an intrinsic part of the decision-making process, and particularly in the disaster risk reduction strategies. It's time that we now must understand the most effective and practical approaches to child-centric mental health and psychological support and incorporate them into disaster risk reduction and management policies and plans. We need to ensure that the goal of our child-centric DRR strategies should be to ensure that our children thrive and not merely survive. Let me conclude by saying that disaster not only disrupts the quality of life but also creates a significant burden of mental health conditions on children. Effective intervention should be given in pre, during, and post-disaster period to improve the adverse mental health effects of the disaster. The psychosocial education and clinical interventions are expected to provide better outcomes because of the integration of various effective measures. Rehabilitation plans should be made by keeping in mind the cultural context of the community and the needs of the children as well. Once again, I welcome you all to this very interesting and useful webinar. I do believe that it would be a great learning experience for all of us, particularly we have expert speakers on the subject, and I wish the webinar great success. Once again, thank you for making me part of the entire effort. Thank you very much. Over to Abhyant.
Thank you so much, sir, for those enlightening remarks. This will not just guide us for this particular webinar, training webinar, but this will help us in designing our own disaster risk reduction strategies, which are child-centric in our work that we do at GIDM and NIDM in future. Thank you so much again, sir. Dr. Balu, may I request you now to please carry forward this webinar?
Thank you, Dr. Abhyant.
Thank you.
Now we have formally done with our inauguration. Now let's move on to the subject. So it's my pleasure, Joyce Jairani, who is the assistant professor at MS Chellamuthu Institute of Mental Health and Rehabilitation, and she is the recipient of President Award and Governor Award. She's also a gold medalist from Madurai Kamaraj University, and she has done his philosophy on life skills and well-being. She has also done his PG in medical and psychiatric social work and counseling and psychotherapy, and PG diploma in counseling. Also Trividia India and Compass India for a decade, and she's into the academic stream for past 24, and she has also published 24 scientific research papers in reputed journals. She's also a visiting professor at Madurai Kamaraj University. So with this brief introduction, now I welcome Dr. Joyce Jairani. Over to you, ma'am. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Respected patrons, sir. The Executive Director of National Institute of Disaster Management, Major General Manoj sir, the Director General GIDM, Tanisha sir, the conveners of this webinar, the Program Officer of NIDM, Dr. Kumar Raka sir, and respected Assistant Professor and Program Manager of GIDM, Dr. Abhyant Tiwari sir, Professor Santosh of NIDM, and the coordinator, Dr. Balu, sir, respected participants and other dignitaries, a very good afternoon to you all. I'm here to present on mental health of children and disasters.
Yes, your PPT is visible.
Is it visible now? Thank you, sir. Mental health refers to cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It is all about how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. People sometimes use mental health to mean the absence of mental disorders. Mental health can affect daily living, relationships, and physical health. If the mental health is good, the daily living will be a happy living, interpersonal relationship will be good, and the physical health also, you will be able to maintain well by doing exercises and having healthy diets and good practices, healthy practices, lifestyles, everything. If the mental health is poor, in the same way it affects the daily living, it will be poor, the poor interpersonal relationship will be there, and the weak physical health will be there. So mental health affects daily life. Good mental health allows children and young people to develop, to cope with, to develop the resilience, to cope with whatever life throws at them and grow into well-rounded, healthy adults. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being. Yes, it is a state of well-being where in which individual realizes his or own abilities. Well-being means the person should be in a position to realize his or her abilities. It varies from person to person. I may be able to speak well. Somebody may be able to dance well. So it depends upon people. It varies. So it is mental health is a state where I'm able to realize my ability. Can cope with normal stresses of life. Yes, everyday life has stresses. A lot of things coming from the home to office, getting up, finishing the task on time, and doing things on time. Everything involves sort of stress. So it all about how well we manage our time. So it is the coping skill of a person to cope with the normal stresses of life, and a mentally healthy person is a person who works productively. He gives results, good results, not only working productively. And mentally healthy person is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Yes, this is what WHO defines mental health as a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Yeah, think on vice versa. If a person is not having mental health, the person will not be in a state of being well, and the person will not be able to realize who he is. The self-esteem will be poor, low confidence, nothing. So the person will not be in a position to realize his or her own abilities. They will be finding it difficult to cope even with the normal stresses of life. They cannot work productively. They cannot be contributive to the community where they live, to the family, to the school, or to the office, college, wherever they are, they will not be. So mental health is very important for a person to be contributive, to work productive, to realize their own abilities, to cope with the normal stresses of life. Yes, coming to mental health of children. Childhood is a period of growth and development. Developing years are critical as these years lay foundation for developing into well-adjusted adult. Children must get opportunities to master certain tasks for good mental health. They play, they move with others, so it is their interpersonal relationship is good. They increase in their skill by playing, by adjustment, everything. And relevant and continuous interaction with caregivers and environment help children to move on to the next phase of development. Yeah, we cannot see children out of their environment. Children grow in their families, children grow in their environment. That's what Erickson says, how environmental factors play a vital role in the normal development and how lack of such opportunities leads to dysfunctional behavior. Children need to feel safe both physically and emotionally. During babyhood, a caregiver is needed to feel the sense of security for a child and the trust, or else the child will develop insecure feeling and mistrust. During childhood, needs environment to realize his self-esteem, self-reliance, and doing things on his own. So the environment is needed. That environment needs to be a healthy environment for children to grow mentally healthy. At school, they make friends and interact. They learn from them. Such atmosphere is needed, but what happens, once a disaster happens means it interrupts the entire process. It collapses the environment where the child is growing. So disaster disrupts the mental health of children. The child who has to grow well to be a healthy adult gets disrupted because of disaster. What is this disaster? There are types of disaster that we all know. Some are natural disasters and some are man-made disasters. Major natural disasters are earthquake, tsunami, flood, drought, cyclone. Minor natural disasters are heat wave or cold wave, landslide, tornadoes, hailstorm. All these are natural disasters, major and minor. Some are man-made disasters, human-made disasters. And that doesn't happen naturally, yes. It is understood. Major man-made disasters are communal riots. It affects the entire community. Fight between two communities, like many lives are lost. Then ethnic conflicts, refugee situations. All these are major human-made disasters. Minor human-made disasters are transport disaster, festival and pilgrimage disasters, where because of the crowd, some are losing their lives, like situations, such situations. Food poisoning, and alcohol or liquor tragedies. Food poisoning, like what we have seen recently in Andhra, many were making unusual sounds and they had fever and they were admitted in hospitals, around 500 people, because of they analyzed food, everything, and they found out. So these are like alcohol or liquor tragedies, we know. So all these are types of disasters. In India, the major natural disasters that we come across is earthquakes, food, drought, cyclone. Just, I would like to give an idea of the average annual loss in the past decade due to natural disaster in India. Average annual loss of human life is 3,663. Average crop affected is 1.42 hectares annually. Average number of homes damaged annually is 23 lakhs and odd. 8,041 kilometers of coastline is exposed to tropical cyclones in India. 56% of total land area is vulnerable to seismic activity, earthquakes and all. 25 states are disaster prone. Many states are prone to multiple hazards. So in this situation that we have in India, it is a high time for us to plan for the mental health of children, because children are the future nation. What happens when disaster comes? It creates imbalances. It creates many problems to the mental health of children, because children also lost many things. Children are vulnerable to the negative impact of disaster. They're unable to fully comprehend what had happened to them. The reaction of adults, loss of things, amount of exposure to trauma, available support system, all these determine the effect of disaster on children. And when I was in my PG, this tsunami, recently we observed 16th year. So tsunami, it had affected a lot of people's lives in the coastal regions of Tamil Nadu. Like how sir was sharing the earthquake in Gujarat in 2001. Like tsunami, Tamil Nadu was hit by tsunami in 2004, where the coastal areas. At that time, we were able to meet children, and a 6-year-old boy who lost his mother and 2 siblings. He said, the sea mother came and took away my mother, my sister, and my brother. I want my mother. I miss my amma, he said. I don't want to go to school. I come here every evening beside my old house to see my mother, sister, and brother. You know, he was pointing out to a crow and 2 miners, and he said, my mom and my brother and my sister are none but these miners and this crow. That's how he was expressing his loss. And the 10-year-old boy who lost his neighbor, he said, my best friend Vanita's father saved 12 people in tsunami. However, he himself died. He was very tall and strong man. We all loved him because he used to climb the coconut tree and give us tender coconuts, everything. I'm very scared at night because his spirit comes and pinches me on my cheeks and calls me. I'm scared to go out for toilet at night because I can see him standing near the coconut tree, he said. Like when something happens, it creates a lot of impact among children. And another boy who had lost his cow, he said, it was very good and gentle. It gave us milk, and I'm missing her milk. I used to drink her milk every day. We used to sell her milk. Everything got washed away in tsunami. Like so, sometimes children will be thinking the loss of their dolls, loved books, sometimes their snacks which they love to have, everything they'll be thinking of. I have lost my doll. Because one girl was sharing, like, I had a very beautiful doll that closes her eye when I put down. That was a beautiful doll. Though she was given another doll, she said, I miss my old doll. I want to have that, she said. It was swept away in a water tsunami. Like, and some children are left with some injuries in the physical. I was with Intervida India at Nagarkoil for around 5 years, and I had seen many children having affected by this, and they had mental health problems, and that's why I'm able to share some of the experiences they underwent. And so it disrupted the daily life, and they underwent a lot of stress. They had a lot of challenges, and the impact of disaster that lays in the lives of children is on 4 dimensions. That is, it has physical impact, it has economical impact, it has social impact, and emotional impact. It has impacts on all these dimensions. Physical impact. What are the physical impacts it lays? Most disasters is a lot of physical injuries. One boy used to bat well and play cricket well along with his friends. He fractured his leg, and due to this disaster, and he was not able to go well, and he was not able to play with his friends. So he was in deep distress. So it lays impact on his physical body. And economical aspect, their parents who were able to go to the sea, who were able to fish, they were not able to go. So the loss of business, loss of income, everything had created impact in their child's life. And social, lot of changes in the social structure. Their homes are swept away, and they had no place to stay. Only the temporary rehabilitation centers, relief centers they had, where everybody had to stay together. Lot of noise all the time. Like, people sometimes they fight with each other, or they come together. Like, lot of things, unexpected things that happen. The social structure, the entire village, the child was seeing was like ruined place. With so much of distortions. The social structure was totally changed. Many families, some children were like orphan, and some were without parents. Some had lost their dear ones and near ones. Lot of changes in the family structures. And emotionally also, the children were undergoing lot of things. Like, it was unbearable situation for them to look at what had happened in a fraction of second, without expecting anything. They had no orientation, nothing. They just saw like how something comes in film, like, but it was unbearable thing for them not to enjoy. They were found helpless, hopeless, and frustrated, fear, anxiety, sleeplessness, everything. So, what we need to understand from this impact of disasters, the impact that disasters create, is we have to understand the reactions due to its impact. Because the reactions may vary for the children according to their age. For toddlers, it will be different. For children, it will be different. For adolescents, it will be different. So, as we work with this children, we need to understand the reactions. That is, preschool children, they will have temper tantrums, crying, excessive clinging to their mothers or the father or the elder sister, whoever is their close family member, and regressive behavior like thumb sucking, wanting to be carried, bedwetting will be there for preschool children, 1 to 5 years of age. Loss of bowel or bladder control will be there. Fear of darkness, fear of being left alone. They will not even leave the mother to go for cooking, do cooking like that, and they will be easily frightened and then get angry. And sensitivity to loud noises will be there. Helplessness and confusion, loss of appetite, speech difficulties, increased aggression, especially in boys it will be seen. So these are the reactions of the children due to this disaster for children preschools between 1 to 5 years. And for the school age 6 to 11 years children, they will have like Physical complaints like headache, stomachache, giddiness, aggressive behavior at home and school, bedwetting, change in appetite, inability to sleep, or sometimes nightmares. They will have sadness, apathy, disobedience, disruptive behavior. They understand loss and becomes anxious about withdrawal. They do not mix with friends, so they will have the fear of reoccurrence, like again will it come, like even if you take that, for every blue moon when the water goes inside the sea, they will fear like will tsunami come. Like for many years they had that, they were frightened, they had the fear of reoccurrence, even the adults had. So difficulty in following routines children will have. And so that's how it goes, because one child had lost his father due to tsunami disaster, and she was attached, very much attached to her father, and her father used to tell bedtime stories to her, and she used to sleep every night hearing the bedtime stories. But she lost her father, but she was wanting to have her father to tell her bedtime stories so that she will sleep. So it was such a pathetic situation, like, and she was becoming restless very much. And how adolescents behave, adolescents who are 12 to 18 years, they seek isolation, they become less communicative. So that's how the mental health of the children are affected. They sometimes they abuse substances like smoking, drinking alcohol, and consumption of other drugs. Aggression will be there, avoidance of trauma related thoughts, feelings will be there. Then they will have suicidal thoughts because they have lost everything, and they've lost the fun in their life, they have lost their relationship. Sometimes the grown-up adolescents may have, and inability to concentrate, behavior problems will be there, dropping out from school or work will be there, low interest in social activities, reactions, everything will be there. So these are the impacts of disaster. So how they react, the stages of reaction, how the stages of reaction would be for children. Suppose a child who had lost a mother was so close to her. Mother is a close person for a child, children, right? So immediately what a child will do, the child will outcry and will cry out, because the immediate reaction will be like fear, sadness, anger. Then the child will be having like denial for 1 or 2 weeks. No, my mother is not there. She would be found somewhere else. I would get my mother back, like that the situation will be. Then intuition, unbidden thoughts of the event. Then working through 6 months onwards, how facing the reality of what had happened. And then adjustment. Yes, I have missed my mother in this disaster, and I have to live. The child gets accommodated to the. This is the normal reaction children, some children experience. Some children may not have the same normal reaction to the disaster. They will have abnormal reaction, because some children are mentally very sensitive, they're not very healthy. So such children will be like overwhelmed, and they will have panic, like they will keep on crying, shouting, they will not eat, nobody can attend them, they will be crying, weeping, and sometimes they will be dozed off because of over crying, and extreme avoidance of people, everything, and flooded states, like disturbing images and thoughts. They will get that images, even if they close eyes, they will get the same image of water coming, or the earthquake, whatever that had happened, the disaster, it will come to them again and again. Sometimes psychosomatic response, like there'll be no medically, there'll be no ailments, but they will feel like I'm not able to move my hands, it's very heavy, I have headache, like all those symptoms will be there. And then character distortion, long term it will have effect on the character distortion, and they will have some psychological assistance, interventions they may need. Yes, so the stages of reaction may be different, but how well we give intervention may help a person to have normal reaction and to stay as a mentally healthy person. If they are not given intervention at various stages by the mental health professionals, then it may lead to abnormal behavior, mental health problems for children, and over a period of time, they will develop many psychological problems. So, how we can care for our special children? Special children, I mean not mentally challenged or mentally retarded. Here, I mean children of remarried. Her father marrying another woman, and this child is thinking about the own loving mother, and the stepmother is not keeping well, and so the child is not able to express it to the father. So, children of remarried are affected much. Then orphans, the children have nobody, and such children are with so much of anxious feeling, sad feeling, like they have no scope of their life. They feel like hopeless in their life. And single parent children, father is affected, father is lost in the disaster, only mother is there, or mother is only there, father is lost. Single parent children, mentally challenged. Some children may be mentally challenged, and some may be injured physically or disabled or abused. You know, when children were made to stay in the temporary shelter, one child was telling that we were staying in temporary shelters, it was fine, but it happened, no, one adolescent boy sexually abused me so much, and that is more traumatizing to me than the disaster that had happened in my life. And the tsunami that had come, like so some abuses that happens in the temporary shelters, and the child was not able to open it up to his or her own parents or any other people who were living over there. So these are the children. Some children might have lost their physically injured, so disabled they must have become. So because of the disaster, so they need to be considered special children to be cared for. What we need to do and what we should not do while we take care of for these children, so that the mental health will be good. So keep in touch with families, friends, and relatives. Don't take children away, far away, so that you may be providing them with like 5-star hotel facilities far away, but they will not be comfortable. So it's good for children to be emotionally in a comfort zone, apart from physical comfort zone. So keep in touch with families or relatives or known persons, friends, and all. Then provide security and comfort to them. It's very, 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 very highly essential one. You know, when World War II, a lot of children were becoming orphans, and they were taken care by a movement, and they were made to stay in a temporary shelter. You know, a lot of children were not sleeping, and psychologists were astonishing. The children are provided good care, they are taken good care, but still why they are not sleeping? Most of the children were not sleeping at nights. So it was analyzed, and then it was found by psychologists that every night when the children were going to bed, they were given enough food to eat, and after completing eating the dinner, they were given a loaf of bread in their hands, and they were led to sleep. So all the children holding the loaves of bread in their hands, and when they were sleeping, they slept well that night. So psychologists found that the children, I think that what will be there for me the next time, for my next meal. So the loss of a sense of security is lost. The comfort is lost, no? And so when that was given, the children were able to sleep well. So, provide security and comfort. Normalize their life as early as possible. Share information to them what is happening and how well they are kept. What you are not supposed to do not send to far off places where everybody is unknown. You know, when some things happen, a lot of people were taken, a lot of children who became orphans were taken from southern parts, and when they come home and come to Madurai in some other home, when they were kept in that home, you know, a lot of mental health problems and behavioral changes, maladaptive behaviors, everything started. You know why? Because they were all pulled out of their own known places. And the next thing is, do not punish. It's the time not to punish them. Do not frighten them to control, and do not give future promises to. Is how the children who are orphaned, who are with single parent, who lost their parents, who are abused or injured, have to be taken care after the disaster, so that the mental health will be good. The next requirement, as mental health professionals or child caregivers, what we need to do, NGO people in NGOs, referral is required if no indication of reactions becoming less. After intervention, after providing security, comfort, after attending, no, then referral is needed. When no indication of reactions becoming less, increase in severity, in distressing to the family, interferes with daily routine of child, interferes with interaction with others like friends and relatives, interrupts school. So in such situation, a referral is needed to mental health professionals. So some problems children will develop, that is conduct problems. They disobey people, they become violent toward peers, steals or lies, destructive behavior they have. And some children become overactive, unable to sit still for even a small time, difficulty in concentrating, and they will have daydreams. They engage in impulsive behavior and activities that are dangerous, like climbing, running on streets, climbing trees, climbing heights, like such impulsive behavior they will be engaged in, become overexcited in large groups. They will have low tolerance for frustration. They do have learning difficulties. Some children like destroying things, somatization will be the like complaints of aches and pains, headaches, or knee pain, or whatever they will get. They will have such complaints. Difficulty in bodily functions like breathing, increased heartbeat, giddiness will be there. Wants to go to doctor, but doctor finds no medical problem for that child. Complaints interfere in daily activities like school studies, etc. Get attention from others due to these complaints. Then PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder will be there. As they re-experience nightmares, thinking about it in the day, having flashbacks, like avoid anything that will remind them of the day. Increase the state of alertness, nervousness, poor concentration, disturbed sleep will be there. So distant from friends and families, and they do not enjoy activities. So these are the symptoms for the children who are with post-traumatic stress disorder. And some children will be severely depressed, like they feel sad all the time, they cry a lot, refuses to play, they will have no interest to play games. The poor body posture eyes show lack of shine in the children. It will be getting thinner, they do not eat well, they will be unable to sleep at night, talking of ending his or her own life. These will be the symptoms for the children who are severely depressed after disaster. Then substance abuse. Some adolescents may engage in like admits to taking alcohol, gutka, or other drugs, smells of the substances, moves between extreme restlessness to lethargy, and they will also be unable to sleep, slurred speech, and inability to communicate clearly, decline in school or other work they used to do, overspending money or claims misplacement of money, right? And discriminate sexual behavior. These are then choose appropriate mediums and develop resiliency. Yes, for children who are having such behaviors, whose mental health is affected, we may need to conduct some activities, and the people whom the professionals who give intervention need to choose appropriate medium so that we develop resiliency to come back from that stressful situation to the normal. We can let children to play in sand. Playing in sand gives a lot of ventilation. They build, they break, and that's how they express their anger. And it's a very good form of letting children to express their emotions, to ventilate their emotions. Then talking as a medium, candle talk can be there. 2 candles can be lit, and it will be suitable for adolescents. This is a sort of activity that can be used for ventilation and understanding the reality. These 2 candles as a child can be placed. One is the father candle and one is the adolescent candle, who is having both candles. And a talk can be like, a candle talk will be like, both the candles are burning well, both the candles are good, but at a point of time the adolescent may be asked to blow off a candle. Then when one candle is put off, then the father is lost, the child is lit, but still the other candle is burning. So the adolescent has to be made to understand that even after the absence of father, that adolescent is alive and he has to cope up with the situation. That's how, like, talking as a medium, artwork, best memory picture of mother or something, the child can be asked to draw about a family, or play work, safety hand, like they can be asked to make a safety hand, and they can name members with whom they feel safe and comfortable. Use of storytelling, drama or puppetry. They can be asked to draw lifelines, like from the childhood till now, what are the good memories they have, like that. And games like mirroring, blind card, continuous storytelling, friendship circle, many other activities that we can conduct, like continuous storytelling. One will start with the story, they will be in a circle, then others will be like, they will be formulating story and they will be carrying on one sentence or few sentences by each one member in the family, in the circle, like continuous storytelling or friendships. So through that, in that story, they will be ventilating a lot of things, they will be expressing a lot of things that we do not know. It's a sort of ventilation that we bring. So such activities has to be conducted so that children will be ventilating. They will not, it will not be accumulated so that it will affect their mental health too much. It should come out. They have to ventilate their pent up feelings. So how it can be, it's not like adults, they can talk and they can express through many activities. I have listed very few number of activities can be done to elicit information from the children through activities. One such thing is the tree of sustenance. Tree of sustenance is what rainwater for my tree, what can be the rainwater for my tree is chess, playing chess, or drinking cold drinks, or chatting, playing music, talking with my friends, drinking tea, listening to news, all these, playing with children, reading, helping others, being in touch with my family, all these can be rainwater for my tree. It's like an analogy that we use to help children to understand the need for self-care. So we tell them the rainwater for how they can take care of themselves, how a tree can be green when it gets more water, right? So what can be the rainwater for the tree? Like similar to that, what can make you to grow well, how you can become so greeny? So a lot of things, activities they can elicit. So what can be the green leaves? Like we can ask them to write, my green leaves are like making friends, understand that other person's feeling, help others, get angry very rarely, making good friends, being independent, understanding, fearless, cleanliness, never lose hope, serve others, good behavior, reading, taking decisions. All these are my green leaves. Also, roots are very important for trees, right? So, what can be the roots? We can help children to identify the relationships that exist now after the disaster. So they will say, my parents, my brother, my boss, or my friend, my classmates, my teacher, my uncle, like they will identify my neighbor, Akka, neighbor Anna, like they will say brother, sister, like they will say. And also the brown leaves that need to be shed. What are the brown leaves? The withered leaves to be. Do not, poor concentration, cannot hide anything, do not eat, do not look after myself, lie, talkative, sometimes lazy, addicted to tea, anger. All these can be the brown leaves I need to shed. Like they can be asked to write, and through this analogy, children can be led to how they can take care of how they can take very good care of their self after disaster. And finally, what we need is the holistic approach. Holistic approach. Recreational health is important. Intellectual or creative health is important. Physical health is important. Spiritual aspect and emotional or mental health is also important. So, emotional or mental health, how we can help a person. Recreation, singing, poetry, gardening, storytelling, teaching children dance and art, like clay modeling, decorating the home, playing music. All these can be encouraged so that the children will find some recreation apart from clinging on to the memories of having the disaster, witnessing the loss of life, dreaming about again and again, reoccurrence of that. So all this can be avoided when we encourage them to involve in recreation, so that we develop resilience among the children. Then intellectual or creative, teaching, being with the survivors, maintaining, working in the field, reading books, attending schools, everything can be intellectual or creative health. Physical health, they have to sleep well, eat well, how they can take care of their self. And spiritual, most of the people are to some or the other form, they are very much, they are so pious, they want to, they pray well, they do well. So the spiritual health has to be taken care, and it has to be given importance, like a prayer is a very good form of ventilating our feelings, like, and reading books, doing some good things, everything helps a person in their spiritual health. And finally is the emotional or the mental health, being loved and being loved by others. It's a very great feeling for human beings. So even after the disaster, children should be able to find that they are loved and they love others. So that brings and restores their mental health. To conclude, disaster may bring a lot of mental health issues among children. Yes, many are the mental health issues. Some I have just listed how it can be affected, like PTSD, severe depressive feeling, overactive, everything. And a lot of mental health issues may come up. So what is our role is? Our role is to observe signs, how they react to the situations. So understand the person in situation. So the loss may differ from person to person. Some may be loss of life, some may be loss of loved ones, and for some it may be loss of physical things, and for some it may be loss of physical parts, injuries. So they have to be understood in person, in situation. Observe the signs, what are the reactions they show. Then provide psychosocial care for children. It's very, very essential. Apart from the basic needs that is usually met, like in the relief camps or the relief camps, food, shelter. Apart from that, the psychosocial care is very much needed for maintaining or keeping up the mental health of children. If that cannot be done to us, that cannot be done very well by us, what we need to do is we need to do referral to mental health professionals in that particular area. And that's what Sir was telling, that Numans and other places they were coming, and 1,500 teachers were trained in the keynote address. Sir was telling like that mental health professionals help has to be sought to help children to keep up the mental health, because we should not ignore that. Do not ignore, because it will affect country's mental health and future. Thank you so much for listening, and you may contact me at this email, drjoyce@mscimhr.com, until MS Chalamuthi Institute of Mental Health and Rehabilitation.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Joyce, for your presentation. Even last year, I have also been to this tsunami affected area. Like, we have also discussed with a child who lost their parents, and at the time they were a children between 10 to 18 years old, and now even they got married and settled, but still they have a drama. And many people, when I was started asking about that incident, they started crying, many girls. So what they said is, even after 15 years of this tsunami, and they have a drama, and how to overcome those. They have become elder now. They are become now adult. So what are the strategies can be adapted?
They need to be given intervention, like first they should be given some chances for ventilation. Ventilation is the best mode first. And other strategies, intervention strategies are there, like regular breathing exercises can be given, and it will help them to relieve from that stressful situation, like and it was a traumatizing situation, like so that has to be done, like not regular yoga, like I'm telling, that can also be done, but breathing exercise immediately it can help them, like if they are inhaling for 2 seconds, they can exhale for 4 seconds, twice time, like and a meditation can help them to calm up. And then ventilation, lot of mediums has to be provided for them to ventilate. They have to think of that situation, and they should be given some opportunity to narrate that experience, and that's the way that we have to elicit information as well as the depth of what I can say, how much they have got affected. They will be able to tell, and that's the way that they can come up. By telling that and by ventilating, they can come up from that stressful situation. That's one way that we can do, apart from other psychotherapies that we need to administer.
Yeah, thank you so much. So there is a one more question. Schools were reopened after this pandemic. How we can intervene and make the child as resilient?
For children, a lot of activities need to be given to bring the child to become resilient. I saw a child who lost both father and mother, who was brought up with a grandmother, but she was able to come out of that situation because she was so much affected. She was saying that she wants to come up to a very great administrative position in India as an IAS, and she wants to help people who are suffering without parents. So that's a sort of resilience the child herself developed from the traumatizing situation of losing both the parents, living with grandmother. So such resilience has to be developed through various activities. Many activity based. I was telling about 6 activities. Number of activities has to be done to help the children to improve in their resilience, to improve their resilience.
Thank you. Move on to the next presentation. If you have some more question at the end, also you can answer. Thank you so much. Let's move to the next one. Pleasure to invite Dr. Gesti Salaman, who is a training and counseling psychotherapist, and she's a founder of Jiritia Psyche Solutions and consultant psychologist. And she also a counselor at Gilhel Mission, a trainee counselor at JPR Institute of Technology, and she was also a student counselor at the Nazareth Group of Institutions. And she has done her PhD in counseling and psychology at the Institute of Education, Research and Development, Kolkata. With this brief introduction, now I invite Dr. Gesti. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Dignitaries, Sir Major Jan K. Bindal Sir, the Executive Director in IDM, Shri P.K. Taneja Sir, Director General GIDM, under the guidance of Professor Santosh Kumar Sir, Head CCR DRR NIDM, conveners Dr. Kumar Raka, Program Officer CCDRR NIDM, Dr. Abhiyan Tiwari Sir, Assistant Program and Program Manager GIDM, and convener Sir Dr. Balu, NIDM. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity, and it's wonderful to be amidst you all this evening. So the topic given to me is well-being issues of children affected by disasters. Now, I want you all to do a small activity, even in the beginning. I want you to lean back wherever you are placed. Just lean back, just relax. We'll just do a small activity. Just close your eyes and think of 3 sounds. Listen to 3 sounds that you can hear around you. And look through your closed eyes. 3 things that you can see in your room. Let your eyes be closed, but just imagine. Think of 3 things that you can feel. Just concentrate on the movement of your stomach. Count your breathing. Now hold your entire body tight. Keep your eyes closed. You can breathe out through the mouth. Now relax your body, the entire body. Tighten your whole body once again. And now just relax it. Feel as if fresh, clean oxygen is entering through your system and refreshing you completely. Now remember, for your physical health to be very good, you need to have very good mental health. Now relax completely. Just imagine one disaster which comes to your mind. It may be a natural disaster, like a tornado, flood, volcano, earthquake, wildfire, drought, tsunami, or so on. It can be man-made disaster, like a plane crash, terrorist attack, explosion, chemical spill, and so on. It can be social or health disaster like war, economic depression, or the one that we are living now, that's the pandemic. Just imagine how your home, your community is living in extreme disruption that's quite prolonged, and how it's disrupting your daily routine. Now, I want you all to live the emotional reactions. I want it to be embedded in your system so that you really get the feel of how it is, the shock of being locked down, disbelief, confusion, helplessness, loss of control whatsoever, irritability, the anxiety, despair, fear, anger over the entire situation, your inability to regulate emotions, thereby you're not able to function in your daily activities. By that, I mean your disruption in sleep pattern, disruption in appetite, and so on. Now just imagine how your family situation was at that time. Increased tension. The once so loving family is now in chaos. Domestic violence, even amidst very loving family. Unimaginable child abuse, sometimes within the family. Significant increase in the use of alcohol or other mood-altering substances following disaster.
Ma'am, let me know if you want me to change the slides.
Yes, sir. You can, sir. Now, regressive behaviors, that is the behavior which is downwards, not in the family, have changed. Your interactions with the society has changed, and you're noticing your own behavior has become aggressive. And you've also noticed that you and people around you are involved in a lot of risk-taking behavior. You're not supposed to go out, but you just go out. You're supposed to wear a mask, but you just don't, because you just want to do it. That's something like a risk-taking behavior. Now, re-experiencing disaster maybe in your thoughts, dreams, different images of maybe something very horrible that you saw that you shouldn't have seen, flashbacks of all that you lost, and thereby you're avoiding all the stimulus that leads you to recollect thoughts of disaster, feelings of disaster. You're avoiding any conversation about the disaster. You want to keep all activities away which is related to disaster, maybe helping others, volunteering. You want to keep away from places and people. Now, with this feelings, now that you've almost lived through the disaster, I want you to sit back, relax. Now you can walk through all that we can do to re-establish ourselves and our loved ones, maybe help others in dealing with such disasters. Sir, can I have a change of slide, please? Sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
want
are
you all
audible.
to sit back, relax with the same feeling of your. I hope all of you had a small review of what happens when disaster takes place. Now I want you to go through with me for the short-term goals that we have, one and how we are going to go about it. Now the long-term goals will be to return to pre-crisis level of functioning, including resumption of routine daily activities. Now, demonstrating appropriate levels of emotional behavior and cognitive functioning. I know many will have unexplained physical complaints, maybe reducing them, and no aim or goal for the future whatsoever, because everything has turned topsy-turvy. Now, to reaffirm the meaning for future. Very important to have a sense of safety, because safety is all that we need. First, the basics, the food, shelter, and clothing. And next comes safety for any of us, for that matter. And then comes community, how we're going to function as community. Now, the immediate short-term objectives will be to stay in area of safety and obtain necessary medical help, to work with law and enforcement relief workers to keep away from unsafe places, refer to a first aid station and emergency for medical evaluation and assessment. Now, during these scenarios, disaster, very important people are the volunteers. Now, very simple and basic things needs to be done with them. That is, they need to have guidance for effective and greater relief work. Meaning, one person should be responsible to guide volunteers as to where they must be going or where they are needed. It's very important to train volunteers and probably give them a written guidelines for better assistance, because many of it will not be remembered. The next comes, as I told you, the basic sheltering needs. Now, we all know that people in disaster need shelters, but the most important thing is to locate where to receive sheltering and to utilize the shelters for sleep and to receive basic necessities such as food and clothing. Next, to provide transport to the shelters. That's again important. And to make and publish a list of shelters so that people are aware as to where to go, how to go about it, and really make use of the shelters. Sir, can I have a change in the slide, please? Now, emotionally, venting is very important during disasters. Now, it's very important for us to set up means of communication to locate and connect with family and friends. Allowing family members to explore their perception of the incident. For example, same incident will have different meanings to different people. When sitting in a group and discussing that I felt this way when this happened, and another shares his or her own experience or the way they looked at the situation, many will have an input as to how they can view things differently from another person's view, and it will really help them. Now, using active listening skills. What is active listening? When someone is speaking, we just listen. That is normal listening. When it is active listening, we really respond to the person who's talking to us. We nod, we make eye contact, we maybe let them know that we are really listening through our bodily expressions. This is very, very important because the affected feel that there is someone to listen to them and they feel an instant connection. This helps them with reducing their trauma. Now, it's also important for us to inquire how the person saw the situation, what they heard during the situation, how they felt physically, when disaster took place, because whenever an event happens, all of it enters through our senses, maybe eyes, ears, what we smell, through our feelings, and this gets embedded in our system as internal representations. It will get stored, and that's how our behaviors, our state of mind is formed. Maybe we become happy, we become sad, we become scared, we become angry because of all the information that enters through our system. So when we ask them to explain all of that, it helps in venting and helps in releasing, and sometimes it also helps when others share their own views. It helps in change internal so that the state of one person changes. Maybe he came in angry and now he is much relaxed because his internal representation has changed. And now when the internal representation has changed, and when your system or the state of mind is changed, now automatically your behavior and your physiology is going to function differently, right? There's a difference. So this is very important. That's why we say venting is very, very important. Now, for children, it's very, pets are very important. So when they know that their pets are taken care of, they're very happy. And some and many will be relying on self-medication, and it's very important for us to know that to tell them that it's really not that good at this time, because they won't have access to medical facilities. Sometimes we can guide them to proper medical facilities and first aid so that they stop doing this. And maladaptive behaviors can be encouraged, maybe referring to a de-addiction center or whatever. Now, coping strategies are many, as I taught you even at the beginning of the session: calming, relaxing, breathing, sometimes role playing. Like how ma'am told before the session, I imagine that this is me and this is someone else, so that I tend to vent and live the situation even if the person is not there, and it helps me get a hold of the situation. Now we use something called systematic desensitization for fear. That is, when a thing is scary and the person is not able to even think of the situation, we present them with the situation slowly in a step-by-step process. Maybe we can ask them to imagine first the day and the situation, the climate, how they were, people around them, and slowly how the event unfolded. And little by little, when we present the situation to them in a very, very relaxed, calm state, they learn to live the situation minus the fear attached to it, because they are relaxed and it's in a controlled atmosphere. So this helps with fear and the nightmares and such. Now, identifying challenges and replacing fearful self-talk with reality-based positive self-talk. When we've been talking negative, when we've always been talking about fear and the bad things about the situation, sometimes it helps when we talk positive about the same situation. And you need not tell others, you can tell yourself. That is the best. Self-talk helps you when no one is around, when you have no one to connect to, when you have no one to listen to. And this is the best that we can teach people to do. Positive self-talk helps one and every day. Now there's another very interesting and applicable form of overcoming the disaster and with coping, that is writing down all that has happened. This is applicable for one and all. This is applicable. You can just sit down and write all that you want to write, as if you're telling someone about the whole incident, about the whole narrative. You can just write down everything. This I've applied in many cases where a loved one is lost. I've asked them to write a letter to them, and I've also tried telling people to maintain a journal every day, so that they feel that someone has got my story. Someone has it is equal to someone listening to you without having anyone around you, right? So home journaling is very helpful and very applicable for all age group. And another thing is corrective feedback that we give. Maybe we attach our disaster to our own failures, our own setbacks, our own downfall, or our own fate, or whatever. Now it's important to have a corrective feedback, telling yourself that it's not that way, it was the other way, it's none of your fault, and it happens. So corrective feedbacks also help you. Balu sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, PPT sir?
Yeah, I'm moving. Which slide you want to show now?
Communication.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
coping strategies. Thank you, sir. Now, moving on to communication. Now, I'm giving you basic things that can be practiced among your own people. You can do that. You don't need experts to do that. You can follow it. You can give it to people around you. And it is very effective. Now, using healthy communication while discussing disaster within your own family, it should be constructive communication, not destructive, as I told you before. And if one is sharing something, the other can be reflective listeners. In the sense, when you are communicating with someone, the other person, you will know if you are attentive, if you are thinking about what they said, if you really like what they said, and if you are with them. They know it very well. So when you have this reflective ear to listen, the other person feels much relieved. That's why I say use eye contact and be respectful even while listening and discussing disaster. Because if the other person, the one who's sharing, comes to know that he's talking to dumb ears, maybe he will not feel better. Allow people to talk and do active and reflective listening. Now we can also use positive reinforcement, meaning someone has done something good within the family. It has been very long since someone has done something good. Now, after the good deed, maybe you are presenting them with something they really like, so that the positive behavior continues. This is called positive reinforcement. where you give the person or gift the person something that they treasure, that they like, that they love, so that the behavior continues. Now, we can also use increased frequency of direct expressions. Most of the time, we know that our family loves us, our family is there for us, we are together in this, and we are going to overcome all this, but we hardly express it. Now, it's very important to express our feelings directly, to tell the person how we feel, to encourage the other, to have cheerful words within the family so that it induces positive thoughts and creates an atmosphere of respect and positivity even within the family. Thereby, it's important for family to learn new communication skills, and to continue the communication skills, positive reinforcement can be used, and each one can come up with how they can better the communication within the family for the betterment of each individual and the family as a whole. Now, whenever we are presented with a problem, be it disaster or otherwise, our mind will not rest unless we come up with a solution for the problem. People may tell us, don't worry, it's going to be all right. No, this is fine, it will be fine. But our mind will not rest unless it is given solutions. So it's important for us to work with our problems so that we keep our mind peaceful and relaxed. What can we do to do all this? Now, there are simple tips which we call it as problem solving or conflict resolution skills. Now, the first and foremost, what we have to do is pinpoint our problem. Maybe write down as a family or as an individual the problems that we are facing. Number two, within the family or in your own community groups or within yourself sitting alone, just brainstorm possible solutions for the problems. You can do it yourself. You're very capable of doing this. You can brainstorm solutions and list down each and every solution for the same problem. Now, beside each solution, you can write the pros and cons of each and every solution. After this, you can select solutions which can be implemented and you can apply them. You can evaluate outcome. If the outcome is not satisfactory, you can always apply the next solution, modify the solution if necessary, and definitely your solutions will work because you've analyzed your situation and you've already thought of the solutions which works. You can always encourage group sessions for survivors to share their experiences, their problems, and work on solutions. This way, you're telling your mind, you're giving solutions to your mind so that your mind is peaceful and it knows that it has a solution. So it's rest assured. Okay. Now to a very interesting and applicable coping strategy. That is the reframing. Reframing strategy is very important. Why? Because I don't need a counselor to do this. I don't need outside help to do this. The content remains. I cannot do anything about the content. Maybe what I saw, what I heard, what I lived through, what I felt, what I lost, all of these cannot be undone. And now I'm going to work on my structure and I'm going to approach the situation or the content in a different way because the content is not going to change. Now, I can always use positive consequences resulting from disaster and use reframing, that is, looking at the same situation but in a positive note. This will aid in resilience and recovery to a great extent. This I've applied to many people and it has helped because it's working on yourself and it's much easier than change things beyond us, right? Now, we can always return to the site of disaster, home, work, or school, and to look at it, to live it. It gives us a form of solace, or you can find some comfort after disaster instead of postponing going to the disaster site. You can always finish it off and be at peace. Now, support for survivors as they live the devastation for the first time is very, very important. So instead of sending them alone or allowing them to visit the site or on their own, it can be done in groups. It can be done with the help of knowledgeable people so that the situation is under control and they also get to live the devastation for the first time with a little help. Now, another important issue is rebuild and restore. As children, adolescents, or adults for that matter, our possessions are very, very important for us. Our memories are attached to it. It holds emotional value and it is very precious to us. So when things are cleared, sorted through, when we get hold of our little possessions, it really helps. And rebuilding home, work, a school, or the community structure helps with the social network. We get a sense of community, we get to interact, maybe together we have this feeling that we are in this as a team. So rebuilding things together not only helps our emotional state, it also helps with interpersonal relationships and also the work that's required, the basic sheltering is done. Now, education to preserve, wash, and store things maybe in plastic containers can be given, plastic bags or whatever. And very important issue in this, especially among children, that we have to give them is that not everything can be restored. It may be hurting sometimes when we tell them that everything cannot be restored to the same old situation. Maybe like how we already heard, a doll cannot be restored, or the place of their play cannot be restored, or some things which hold very dear to them. It's very important for us to let them know that everything cannot be restored, but whatever is restored is going to give them pleasure because they're going to see things in future. Changes will give them better prospects in life. This education to be given to children and adults is very, very important. And we can always do the repair work that needs to be done. This also can be done together as families or communities. Now, the most important thing that happens whenever a disaster strikes is the financial aspect of a family or a community. The loss of income, We have witnessed it and we're witnessing it. The bills, the mortgages, so many have pledged their jewelry, their home, their everything just to have a normal living. Now we can help them by getting them in touch with contact agencies that can provide aid to victims. And the basic thing that we can do is to equip them with knowledge needed to complete the forms to receive assistance. Many will not be in their straight mind even to do these small tasks. And emotional support is needed because mostly these processes are tedious, it takes time, it needs patience, and this must be given as a psychoeducation to the victims. Now, positive health can be restored in small act of kindness. Mostly when disaster strikes, it's very, very difficult for us to give or receive valuables, gifts that are big, and it is very different from the normal thing that we do. We may want to present or give valuables, but we are not in a position to do it. But no issues. Small acts of kindness, both received and given, will maintain morale and build a sense of community. So don't mind what you can give, as long as you can give it out of love and out of kindness. Attend and participate in memorial services for the deceased. This also helps in venting. Recently, I was in a village where there was a deceased, and the whole group was sitting together and they were mourning. Now, this was very interesting because they are done with all the grieving and mourning on the site. And maybe after a day or two, they have no more energy to mourn, but also they don't feel like mourning because they're done with it. Grief is to be grieved. It should not be postponed. So memorial services are very good for venting, and it's important for us to let them know that it's not right or wrong feelings. Grief is a normal reaction to loss. There's nothing right or wrong. There's nothing to hype about. It's very normal. It's very normal to grieve, and it's very normal to have memorials and mourn the loss. Now, to return to the routine activity. Now, it's important for us, for our emotional health, because whenever we are able to function as normal people without our routine getting disturbed, we're able to be active, then almost we are done with the mental health. We're almost there. It's only when our routine gets disturbed that we feel something is wrong somewhere and our mind is really disturbed and stressed out. So when we slowly, in a timely manner, return to our typical daily routine, slowly by slowly, most of the time, our emotional health is also returning to a normal state. So it's important for us to assist families and individuals to resume daily activities that were healthy and pleasurable. And it's also important for us to focus on the present, then the past or the future. Past is gone, future is not in our hand. Maybe it's scary also, but the present is in our hands. Make the best use of the present. This knowledge to be given is very important, because many people will not do this. They either live in the past or they go to the future. They miss out on living today. So it's important for us to educate them, to enjoy today, to live today, and we're going to do it even in future, for sure. Now, there may be many questions for the affected. They desire answers. I already told you, when a mind is disturbed, it looks for solid answers so that it can go on. It cannot rest unless it gets proper solutions. So whenever a person is in for a question, do not neglect him or her. And it's important for us to know what is behind the question, not the plain question. There must be a lot of affect behind the question. So look into that and you can always understand the situation better and answer the person correctly, because every negative behavior will have positive intention. Maybe a child is crying, throwing tantrums, but the real reason behind will be because the child wants attention. The child is hungry. The child hasn't slept at night. So it may be a negative behavior that we see. It may be a negative question that we encounter, but there will be positive intentions behind the negative question or the behavior. Now, planning and preparing for disaster is very important. Establish a plan even before disaster strikes. Prepare yourself so that feelings of helplessness will be reduced. Important for us to have escape route, meeting location, appliances to turn off in case of emergency, and all of these can be practiced through drill. And a sense of safety within the community should be created, with each and everyone taking responsibility for the same. Everyone, young, old, child, everyone must feel safe within the community. So what can be done for this to become reality? That must be discussed and planned very well. Now, mental health of the grieving should be taken into account because it interferes with their daily functioning. If the effect is too much, they can be referred to mental health professionals so that they get help, so that the family or people around them don't get affected, because it's like a ripple wave, you know. If one is not keeping mentally strong or healthy, it affects people around them. So it's important for us to recognize them and assess the gravity of the situation. Psychoeducation can be given about psychological complications for all of the flashback depression, suicide ideation. Required intervention can be given. Most of the time, why do we have all this? The depression, the suicidal ideation is because we do not have flexibility. Flexibility, I mean, in your thinking, flexibility in your feeling, thereby flexibility in your behavior. When I know that this is the end and I don't have a future, I have suicidal ideation. Now, when I know that no, this is not the end, it can be this way, it can be that way, it can be the other way, it becomes a flexible scenario and it becomes easier for us to deal with problems and situations that we currently face. So flexibility must be given, must be taught, must be practiced. It doesn't come that easy. And flexible people who are ready for the unknown, for the surprises which nature or the situation throws at us, most of the things which are not pleasant, maybe we can be ready to deal with all of this if we are flexible in our mind and in our feelings. I always say people have at least 3 options in your thinking, in your feeling, so that your behavior also has options. It's all connected. The way you think, you feel. The way you feel, you behave. So when your thought process is changed, now mental health referrals can be handy so that we can refer people who are seriously affected, provide pamphlets and literature on depression management, because we cannot reach each and everyone, and most of the time we do not know who's depressed and who's not. And people who are really depressed do not come out and tell us that they are depressed. It's a quiet, lonely, ongoing process. So pamphlets and literature will help them. Now, sometimes because of the trauma, there may be some dysfunctional behavior. Sometimes there is no dysfunctional behavior whatsoever, but the person is undergoing trauma. So it's very important for us to know what's happening. And recovery process is very slow, very, very slow. So monitoring is required, continuous monitoring and guidance of the treatment. Okay, I think I've given all practical day-to-day solutions that everyone can follow and thereby be benefited. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you, Dr. GS, for a wonderful presentation. And you have well connected with the disaster, pre-disaster, post-disaster situation with the mental health. And you have also discussed about the various aspects like well-being issues of children affected by disasters, and also the emotional reactions, family issues, and regressive behavior. And also you have discussed about the volunteering, sheltering, and vending aspects. It was a good presentation, ma'am. There are some questions for you. Just let me read out. Uh, Mr. Dr. Manavalan has raised that uh, to explain the mental health issues of any one particular family, he is looking for some case studies and how we can overcome that. And let me.
you want case study, sir?
Yeah, he's telling that no, it's running all the chart box is running, so I'm unable to catch it. Yeah, me.
So, okay, let me go with a case study. There was this boy who's in his teenage, early teen. He was having headache and vomiting. Now, what happens is I seat him and I'm talking to him. He never comes out with. It takes long for children to come out with what they're saying. But ultimately, he told me that every day, these times, especially during these days when it's lockdown, his father would lock him, his sister, and his mother outside the house through the night, and he would drink inside the house. And whenever this happened, the next day, boy had vomiting and headache. Now the family had referred him to many hospitals, medical care, but the report was clear. There was no physical aspects whatsoever. Then I had to call in the mother and I asked her, and she was like, nothing, madam. It is like very normal for us in the family. We fight and we makeup. It's not that big an issue. He does it almost all the time, so we have gotten used to it. For mother, this is what we call it as perception. The same situation, but the mother was looking at it as if the husband is having some private time and it's good for the family. But the boy was alarmed because the mother was outside and the sister was outside in the cold. The way the child saw the situation. And when I spoke to the mother, and as a family, they didn't even know that this was a problem. That is the thing. Many times we have problems, but we don't realize that this is the problem. When we spot the problem and we work on solutions, it becomes, I told her, and it was a simple affair. They just told the father how it was happening, and together the family came up with solution, and the boy had no more health issues, vomiting, and his headache stopped, and he started functioning very well after that. In fact, the family was very happy because he was involving in all volunteering activities after that. So this is how it happens. Yes, sir.
Thank you. There is one more question.
Yes, sir.
Will you please tell us how do we know that mentally the children are not okay, or the children are having some mental health issues? Because some children doesn't usually express out.
Yes. Now, normally for children to be and running about is okay for them. When do we know that the child is not normal? Is hyperactive children normal? Many times we will not even know. There are two things called mental disability and mental disorders. Now, disability is the biology of a child. Biology is not formed properly. There is some nervous issue. There is some genetic issue. So the biological system itself is problematic, and this child needs medication. Okay, is that clear? And the second is disorders. Disorders are because of the situation surrounding the child, maybe because of the peer pressure, because of the family, and the behavioral issues. These can be corrected with interventions by psychologists or clinical psychologists. Now, usually, how do we know a child is not functioning well is simple things like normal milestones of a child. The child has not stood at the time normal children stand. The child was not able to sit when normal children do that. They are not able to speak at the appropriate time. They had birth complications. The mother had complications even before birth, after birth, or things like this. These are signs that the child is not normal. Otherwise, all the other behavioral issues, like you can find all these even when the child is putting on a shirt button. The child is not able to do it properly. Not if it is once or twice, it's okay, but every time the button is not buttoned up properly, then it's a problem. This child is not able to tie his or her shoelace properly. If it happens once or twice, it's okay, but all the time it's a problem, then it is a problem. The child is reading something and the child is missing out on letters in between the sentence, then if it happens sometimes it's okay, but all the time it is a problem. It's called dyslexia. Now the child has problems with numbers, becomes a problem. So when a problem you notice is repeating, meaning it is problematic. Otherwise, most of the children are active, they are running around, they are okay, they're all learning, they talk in their own language. That's all fine. But if the the behavioral issue is consistent and it is on and on, you must consult a clinical psychologist or a psychologist for that matter. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Yes, we are running out of the time, so it's time to conclude our program. So from overall this today's two presentation, we come to know that, and this CCDRR Center is also organized a series of mental health webinar related to these children, and we found that this meditation is one of the best solution for the children who is having mental health issues, which we need to through the practices among the children to overcome that. And the second aspect, this public health policy also should include this mental health issues, so that we can improve the mental health of the children. And the third aspect, we see wherever the children who are living in the disaster affected area, they need to be given a counseling. So the government also need to take certain steps to appoint a counselor in the disaster affected area, so that the children also can be properly given a counseling. So with these three major aspects we have taken, we are taking from this webinar to improve the mental health of children who are affected in the disaster areas. So with this now, Dr. Abhiyan Tiwari, would you like to add any point here?
No, Dr. Balu, in wake of the time, we are already over time. So I would again thank our distinguished speakers, both the speakers, and to all the participants who remained with us throughout this very interesting and useful webinar. And we hope to jointly conduct such webinars in the times to come. Thanks again to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abhiyan. So, on behalf of NIDM and Child-Centered Disaster Risk Reduction Center, I extend my sincere gratitude to the patron of this program, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, sir, Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, and Dhananjaya, sir, who is the Director General, Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management. I also extend my sincere gratitude to Professor Santosh Kumar, sir, who has given a guidance for this webinar, and my sincere gratitude to Dr. Abhiyan Tiwari and Dr. Kumar Raka for being a convener of this program. And my final thanks goes to both eminent speakers, Dr. Joy, as well as Dr. JS Ma'am, who has enlightened our participants with their experience and wonderful presentation. And my final thanks to all the participants who has joined in this program. Thank you so much for all of you to join with us. For your information, the feedback link is also shared in the chat box. I request all of you to give your feedback. Thank you so much to all. Thank you. Thank you, Diwari sir.
Thank you.
The meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to Joyce as well as GS.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for giving your valuable time. Yeah.
Welcome, sir.